Hi guys and welcome to another vlog. I'm driving this. This is the Maruti 800. This is probably the third generation model and this car comes courtesy of Harsha to me. So thank you so much for lending me your prized possession. Straight away we're going to be opening the engine bay. Kind of hydraulic struts. Look at the technology back in the day. No, actually it's kind of jammed, that's why. Anyways, oh my goodness. So that is the engine which is very chintu mintu here. And let's just shut this at the moment. There it shuts. Makes that mechanical clingy noise as well. No body colored bumpers. It is actually not very wide, it's very narrow a car. Indicators are placed here down and the lights, well, obviously all halogen back in the days. Now this happens to be a 2003 Maruti 800 which seems to be in pretty good condition because it's almost 19 years old or maybe probably more. Now the wheels have been upsized. Standard is I think 12 inch. This one is running on 145/80. No, this is also 12 inch. So I'm just wondering what is the upsize as such. Okay, it's the same tire size probably. Any which ways, from the side, well, this guy's around 3.3 meters in length. This is the most influential automobile in India. This is the car which really changed a lot of things and this is the car which established Maruti Suzuki. There is no antenna here, this kind of seat, but that is where antenna actually goes. No internally adjustable mirror, or internally you can adjust it by putting your hand out as well. And obviously the design is very basic but still iconic. It says 800 AC. There was a deluxe version also which used to come. Now black colored bumpers, lights actually look nice, sort of a clear lens treatment as well. Indicators you can't really see. That is the exhaust again which is very chintu mintu. I'm just going to show you the underbody of the car. There it is. Anyways, it gets a sort of a high mounted stop lamp. Let's do one thing, let's open the boot right away, which means I have to put the key inside and yeah, now it should open. It's a bit complex but here it go. I don't even know what I did. Anyways, you know what, there is just one hinge here. It's not there on the other side. That's called cost cutting, Maruti Suzuki style. Meanwhile, there's a hole here. I don't know for what. Now, the boot is not that big, but I think it's decent size. And the spare wheel, where is it? Does this car even have one? I'm trying to figure that out. Yeah, there is the spare wheel, which is, I think, the same size, of course. Meanwhile, this thing actually, folds. So, things are not that smooth in an old car as such to operate. But yeah, you can fold this to increase the boot carrying capacity. There was a deluxe version known as a DX which had 50-50 split folding seats. Oh my god, this is so freaking light now. I wonder that if I bang it hard, will the glass break? Jokes aside, you actually have to put the key here to unlock the fuel lid. And space here seems actually quite nice because this is a very small car. Yet there is enough space for maybe 2 people or 10 people because I've seen 10 people inside this car. Not this car in particular, but in 800s, there are no door pockets at all. Now, there is decent amount of knee room and leg room. Under thigh support is very poor and headroom is not adequate at all. There's a handle to hold on to. There is glass here to bring in the airy feeling as well. And yeah, that's about it. No extra headrests at the rear, but there are at the front, which is a good thing. And this is not completely flat though. However, they are magazine holders. And you know what? The seat kind of feels solid and a bit stiff as well. That is the dashboard design of the vehicle, but you know what, the glove box does not open, so it has been taped right now. Probably there is something secretive which I should not see at the moment. Jokes aside, let's get in here. Okay, now the dashboard was very plain and basic and simple. You can see there are no door pockets on the side either. Front seats are decently comfortable for the average sized adult, but not for someone as tall as me. There's no dead pedal, but you know, there's this gap in the center, so yeah, you can spread your legs wherever you feel like. And a lot of exposed wiring, sort of rusting also on the steering wheel column. And this is actually the control for the headlight leveler. There's a small storage space here. This is to actually open the hood of the vehicle and there are dummy buttons if you install anything, that is. I'm just going to shut the light here. Now these levers feel very robust, although a little hard to operate as well. And when I get inside, I realize that the cabin is not really wide as such. Now this is for the hazard light, of course. Push this, there's some storage space here, there's some storage space here, there's a space for a tape here. This car gets air conditioning and the air conditioning controls have been given right there. So it's all in the hand of the driver, of course, and then there are dummy buttons right there as well. Now here there are actually provisions for maybe a clock, a radio, audio system and all that stuff. And there's a cigarette lighter as well, which is again a premium feature. There's some storage space here. It says Swift right there, which actually improves the handling of this car. And there's another storage box right there. Now this is the 4-speed. Handbrake positioning is right in the center, of course. Where else will it be? This thing moves to adjustable seatbelt buckles as well. That's it. Nothing else in the car to talk about. These are the controls for the wipers. Now Okay, the air conditioning function is very different. You can see the instrument cluster of this car. There's a speedometer in the center, and there's a fuel meter as well as a temperature meter, and taillight lights everywhere. That's it. Very basic. The horn is not that great, but then what do you expect? This mirror is not dimming at all, so it's kind of fixed, and here you don't get anything. Neither do you get anything there either, and there's a handle to hold on to for everyone except the driver, of course, and then there is a light placement on the top. So in terms of aesthetics and features and all, very plain, very basic, but very functional, and this car is actually quite nice to drive. Let's go. Alright, let's turn on this car. Okay, it's in first gear, and there it rose to life. Straight away we are into first gear, revving the motor, doesn't really rev, and off we go. So we'll actually take it easy because Harsha, the owner, is actually standing on the left side. Once we are out of his sight, then we are going to give it the beans. Just joking. But the 800 is the most influential car in India. It was the top selling car in India from 1983. From the time of launch, I think it was launched. Okay, speedometer is not working. It was launched in December 1983. No, now it's working. It was sleeping, it got up right now. That's kind of funny and funky. And it was the best selling car till 2004 when its own sibling killed it. Yeah, the Alto is responsible for the 800 dying because Alto sales overtook the 800, and then Maruti decided, let's do one thing, let's just keep selling the Alto and forget the 800. Now, as you can see, performance is actually nice. You know why? Because this is a very light car, weighs just 650 kgs, and if you add AC another 15 kgs, so 665 kgs is the weight of this car, along with me and F2's weight of around 120 kgs, resulting in great power to weight ratio. 799cc 3-cylinder engine. Brakes are actually quite poor. Yeah, the car doesn't really stop, and speedometer moves in a very abrupt manner. So here we are into second gear, and off we go. Speedometer works as it wishes to. Yeah, it becomes very vocal, the engine and the motor. Yeah, it makes some nice amount of sound as well, and the handling is actually quite nice. You know why? Because it's a very light car. No power steering. Power steering was never even offered. It never needed because of the lightweight and the small 12-inch tires. Okay, bad braking, have to be really very careful. So there were 3 generations of the 800. First was the 1983 to 86. So immediately after launch, within a couple of years, they actually, I'm saying couple because December 83 was the launch, and in 86 they actually launched the second generation of the 800, which got a lot of changes, and then that was on sale till 1997, and then the third generation came, and they had multiple changes coming to the car time and again, like shifting the logo and this and that. In fact, the first generation car was almost completely Japanese because all the parts came from Japan, so you can call it the CKD one. Oh my god, there's so many speed breakers here. The gearbox is actually... Oh, we are not in first. What are we doing? Yeah, the gearbox is actually quite slick shifting. The clutch is also on the lighter side, and the motor is very peppy indeed. Now, this one produces 37 horsepower and 59 Newton meters of torque, going from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in maybe 24 seconds. No, it's around 22 seconds. There was a carb variant earlier, obviously, before MPFI came in, and that used to take around 27 seconds. When they reverted to MPFI, it cut time by around 5 to 7 seconds for 0 to 100 kilometers per hour. That was the kind of difference MPFI actually made. Then they also had a 12-valve version. So this has 6 valves. They had a 12-valve version, the same 3-cylinder engine. Because of 12 valves, now the performance was out of the world. It used to produce, you can call it the RS version of the 800. It used to produce 45 horsepower and 62 Newton meters of torque, and used to go from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in only 18 seconds, and had a top speed of more than 140 kilometers per hour. In fact, this 140 written here on the speedometer, the car used to cross this and go above it. That was the kind of performance thanks to the 12-valve variant of the 800, which is so stonker of a performer. In fact, you know what, boost mode here happens to be turning off the air conditioning, because once you do that, the load from the engine goes and it's able to offer you more performance. Yeah, that is loud, but the engine is actually quite refined lower down. Gearbox is actually stick shifting, but it's a little troublesome in second, and I'm picking up in second right now. So what Maruti actually did was, when they launched the 12-valve version, everyone realized that when you're driving this 5-speed gearbox equipped car, you don't have to turn off the air conditioning to climb an incline and all that stuff, which was a problem in the carb variant. And I don't think that problem is there in the 4-speed though. 4-speed gearbox is okay, fine. The 5-speed was way better in terms of shifts. In fact, I think the gearbox came from the 1000. Meanwhile, Maruti actually sold 27 lakh units of this car, which was discontinued finally in 2014. Actually, they did not decide to update the car to BS4 emission norms. They were like, okay, enough, you're not going to update to BS4. And that is the reason why it was dead after a few years. And the reason for not updating it to BS4 was simple. They were okay, there's no left mirror. That was a luxury back in the day. Today people are like, मेरी गाड़ी में perfume नहीं है, sunroof नहीं है. अरे भाई यहाँ पे तो left mirror भी नहीं आता. And here we are into first gear, revving the motor. Almost 14 first gear, and we are going to go flat out cornering. No, I can't go flat out, मेरी फट गई. But the handling is actually very impressive indeed. Into third gear, I think for the very first time. Performance is actually quite nice for a car which just produces 37 horsepower. So Maruti actually decided we are not going to update it to BS4 emission norms, and that's the reason they decided to discontinue the car. And then they were in two minds. They were like, should we not? Because the Nano had come, and then Nano was very aggressively priced and all. So they again went back and said, okay, we are going to update it. And then they decided it doesn't make any sense. Let the Alto take over completely. You know what? The funny thing is that one second, let's brake here for the speed breaker. Ride is okay. It's not that great. It's fine I mean, the suspension is soft, but then at high speed it gets bouncy. Even high speed stability is poor. Post 90, it's not that good. Anyways, we are revving the motor. Some amount of wheel spin on offer. I keep forgetting, what was I talking about? Yeah, so I was saying that Maruti decided not to update this car, and then in 2010 in metro cities, sales stopped because they had to transit to the latest emission norms. So 13 metro cities, this car was discontinued. Continued to sell in smaller towns where BS4 was not enabled, but in 2014 when that got enabled, Maruti had to shut shop for the 800 completely. Yeah, you know why it sold so much and why it became popular all of a sudden? Because in India, the cars were terrible at that time in the 80s. We had the Ambassador, we had the Padmini. I know, I love these cars, but they were heavy, they were rear-wheel drive, they were not very reliable, and they were high on maintenance as well. The 800 changed the game completely because it's a light car, front-wheel drive, very efficient, Japanese, and reliable too. So that's the reason why people went gaga over it, buying it. In fact, the waiting period initially was 3 years. You know what does 3 years means in terms of waiting period? It means that by the time you got the car, the price was almost higher by 20 to 30%. So people used to buy the car and then they used to sell it for a profit. Imagine buying a car, using it, and then selling it for a profit. That used to happen with the Maruti 800 because the waiting period and the craze for this car was crazy. In fact, you know what? This is the car which you can call as the people's car for India. That is the importance of this vehicle. That's the level of, what do I say? Once again, how do I look left? That is the level of revolution it made for India. Into first gear, revving the motor. Okay, Scorpio coming. It says Scorpio on top of that, and off we go. The 5-speed version used to wheel spin 2x. Okay, you know what? This car actually got seat belts and a catalytic converter because of being exported. Second gear, it tops out at around 70 kilometers per hour. Brakes are poor. Ride is okay. It's not that great. The only thing is that the car is not able to handle bigger bumps because of the smaller wheels. Handling is fine, body roll is decently contained, but the suspension is soft, so you can feel that. Now, the thing is that Maruti decided that we are going to start exporting this car to some countries, and Suzuki did not approve of it, so they removed all the possible Suzuki badges on this car and started exporting it. In fact, there was a quota for how many Japanese cars could be imported in a certain country, so this had to be completely Indian to not fall into that quota. So that's how Maruti tried to, evade that quota thingy, because the car is actually very much Japanese. The whole company started when the Indian government decided that, you know what, we need a car for the masses, and they formed Maruti Udyog Limited, which was a joint venture between the Indian government and Suzuki of Japan. And then later, obviously, Suzuki bought back all the shares of Maruti, and then, it became privatized. And the result is that they axed the 800. Whoa, why? Sad. Anyways, Maruti actually meant the 800. When you say, "Mere paas Maruti hai," means you had an 800. That is how this car was relatable to, being the car from the brand Maruti Suzuki, or rather it was Maruti Udyog Limited. Here, speed breakers are not an issue, but fuel efficiency was good. In fact, it returned between 16 to 20 kilometers per liter, all depending on your driving style, and you could actually increase the fuel efficiency by driving sanely and by turning off the air conditioning. This whole habit of turning off the air conditioning actually came from this car only, because when you turn off the air conditioning, the performance boost is absolutely obnoxious here. It's a big difference as well. Like I was telling you, it will do post 140 kilometers per hour speed. Top speed is like so good. However, remember one thing, that there is no stability post 90 kilometers per hour because of the lightweight, so it would move right, left and center as well. well. And yeah, it takes a lot of time to reach 100 kilometers per hour, but here we are into third. I'm going to shift into fourth, yeah, because it can get a bit confusing between fourth and reverse as well. And then you can see it doesn't really pull strongly. It takes its own sweet time to move. I remember I did a vlog on the 5-speed version, and trust me, that was an absolute rocket ship. Here we go. Wheel spin in a Maruti 800 is always such a good thing. This car needs traction control system. And we are off. The kind of wheel spin on a Maruti 800 is insane. It's actually fun to drive this car. Very easy to park. In spite of lack of power steering, it's so nimble, agile, and the horn is okay. It's not that great, to be very honest. But what an epic car, this Maruti 800. It is the car which changed the game completely. It is a car because of which what Maruti is in India today, it's solely because of the 800. If there was no 800, today we would be driving German cars as hatchbacks. The Polo's latest generation would be here. So I don't know whether to blame Maruti or to praise them, because whatever they have done has resulted in us not getting like really good cars. I'm not saying this car is bad, it's a good, very nice car, but you know what, Maruti did not really revolutionize anything. They got great sales, they set up a massive service network as well, and then decided to take it easy. If Maruti would have, had competition, today this Baleno would be an RS, not the regular 1.2 petrol. Into first gear, okay, you can feel the vibrations on the steering wheel because it's a 3-cylinder at the end of the day. Revving the motor, it's going to wheel spin, okay, crazy. So guys, this is my vlog of the second most longest production car in the Indian market. The first one was the Ambassador, of course, and I must tell you, it is absolutely stunning still to drive. It is so reliable, it feels like it's absolutely new a car, and that is what really changed the game, the reliability of this car, the Maruti 800. So guys, if you like this vlog, make sure to give the thumbs up, that's a like button, and also subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys in the next video real soon. I know you guys are like, एक बार launch कर दो ना वापस से. करता हूँ. चलो, here we go, revving the motor, and off we go. Yeah, so basically I was trying to tell you that the production run of the Ambassador was the longest in the Indian market, and the 800 is second in that regard, because the Ambassador was like in production for like maybe 50, 100, 200, 300, 500 years. And if Hindustan Motors had its way, it would have still continued to sell the Ambassador to, of course, you guessed it right, to the cabbies and to people in Kolkata. There is no sound from the tires. That is the level of grip on offer. Quite an enjoyable machine. Bye-bye.